It was the kind of night when the ocean forgets how to sleep. The ship rocked gently beneath an overcast sky, stars hidden behind clouds that hadn't broken in days. Below deck, in a cramped crew cabin that smelled of salt, rust, and something older, 3 sailors sat around a small bolted-down table, nursing chipped mugs and sharing what was left of the bottle. They'd finished their shifts hours ago. Nothing left to do but wait for the weather to change, for the tide to turn, for morning to come, if it ever did. The storm hadn't broken, but the sea had gone quiet, too quiet. No waves, no gulls, not even the groan of wood, just stillness. And in that unnatural silence, someone spoke. "We should tell stories." The words hung in the air like fog, heavy, unwelcome, but impossible to ignore. Not ghost stories, not legends. Real stories, the kind only the sea can give. There were 3 of them. Each would share 2 tales, 6 stories before morning. That was the plan. And none of them knew that by the 6th, they'd wish they'd kept their mouths shut. It was Miles who started, grizzled, graying, with hands like rope, and a stare that had seen too many shores. He took a slow drink, cleared his throat, and leaned into the circle of light. This happened before I was seasoned, just a kid, really, 3rd week on my first real voyage. We were somewhere south of Iceland. No land in sight, just water and clouds and that horrible gray line where the 2 meet. The sea was calm, but I remember it felt off, like something was holding its breath. He stared at the tabletop for a moment before continuing. I started hearing it at night. A voice. Not like a hallucination, not like my own thoughts either. It was inside my head, but it didn't sound like anything I could place. Not a man, not a woman, not even human. It didn't speak in words, not exactly, but somehow I understood. It wasn't saying anything comforting. No prayers, no advice. It was asking, calling. Something like a question, but older than language, the sound of pressure in your skull. The kind that wakes you up with your jaw locked and your eyes watering. The kind that follows you into dreams. The other 2 leaned in. No one smiled. Then the dreams began. Every night I fell asleep, I sank. Not fell. Sank. Straight down, into the dark. Cold and slow, like the ocean had its hands on me. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. But I didn't die, I just drifted, downward. It went on forever, hours, days maybe. No light, no pressure, no sound. And then, when I'd gone so deep even darkness couldn't find me anymore, I saw them. 2 eyes, massive, red but not glowing. More like the idea of red, bigger than the ship, bigger than thought. I couldn't see them, not with my eyes, but I knew they were there. They weren't looking at me. They were looking through me. Miles's voice cracked slightly. He cleared his throat again, but it didn't help. I didn't scream, couldn't even blink, just floated there, a speck in the universe of that gaze. And the second I knew it saw me, really saw me, I woke up. After that, the voice stopped, just gone, like someone hanging up a call. I tried to brush it off, say it was stress or bad rations or being alone too long on the water. But I've never felt the same since. Something in me's off, like a piece was rewired. I feel it when we pass through certain coordinates, like a vibration in my bones, low and ancient. He looked up, dead-eyed. You've all heard of Cthulhu. Old gods, deep ones. Sailor nonsense, right? I thought so too until I met one, and I think I was just a test. A wave slapped the side of the hull then, just one, like a hand. The other 2 said nothing for a long time. Red didn't speak right away. He stared into the floor like the story had to surface on its own, dragging itself up from the depths. When he finally talked, his voice was lower than usual, hoarse, like something had clawed at his throat from the inside. I was with a different crew then. Patrol assignment, North Atlantic shipping lane, long nights, dead radio, quiet seas. It was supposed to be routine. We were 2 weeks out, halfway through a graveyard shift, when the distress call came in. Faint, garbled, like someone yelling through water. But clear enough to get a name. The Dagger's Wake. He looked at the others. That ship sank in 1983. Everyone knew that. An oil fire took it down in the Sargasso. Whole crew gone, no survivors, no remains. But the voice calling over the radio said they were adrift, said they needed help, said they were cold. He ran a hand over his mouth, like the memory left a taste. We pinged the coordinates. Nothing should have been there, just open sea. But radar lit up. One contact, drifting slow. No response to hails. Captain ordered us in closer. I saw her with my own eyes, the Dagger's Wake. Rusted out, half sunken, but somehow afloat. No lights, no movement, just there, waiting. We should have left. God, we should have left. But protocol said board and investigate. So 3 of us went over. Myself, the XO, and a kid named Daryl. Young, smart. First time out in open water. He didn't deserve what happened. Red's voice started to tremble, just slightly. The deck was soaked but dry, if that makes sense. Water everywhere but nothing dripping. No breeze. Just air that felt thick, like syrup and static. We made our way below. The corridors were rusted and warped, like they'd been underwater for decades, which they had. And that's when we heard the knocking. Not footsteps, not echo. Knocking. From inside the bulkheads, from sealed rooms, hollow and wet, rhythmic, like someone trapped or trying to get out. Daryl panicked, turned and ran back to the ladder. We heard his boots, then silence. When we reached the deck again, he was gone. Not overboard, not hidden, just gone. But his boots were still there, laces neatly tied, placed together at the edge of the gangway, and they were dry. Red clenched his fists. The XO lost it, screamed, fired a flare down the open hatch we'd come from. It didn't light up anything, just vanished into black. No walls, no reflection, just void. We ran, back to the launch, back to our ship. And here's the part I still don't understand. The Dagger's Wake? She wasn't behind us anymore. Nothing was, just empty ocean. But the radio hasn't been the same since. Every now and then, late at night, we get static, just for a second. And under it, just barely, someone whispers, "It's so cold." Red took a breath like surfacing from a long dive. We filed no report. Official logs say we found nothing. That's the only reason we're still working. But I never answered another radio call that didn't show up on radar. I don't care who it sounds like, or how desperate they sound. He leaned in, because some ships don't sink. They drift. And if they call, it's not help they want. Jonas wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. No smile tonight. His eyes were steady, hollow in the flickering light. When he spoke, it was with quiet precision. Not for drama, but like he didn't want to say the wrong thing. Like he was afraid of being heard. I used to work commercial salvage, wrecks mostly. Downed freighters, old trawlers. Sometimes it was just rust and junk. But sometimes, you pulled up more than metal. This job was off the Mariana Trench. Not in the trench, but close enough that the maps start showing blank spots. We were investigating a signal. Beacon from a research sub that went dark 5 months earlier. No recovery, no bodies, just a soft ping every 2 days. Like someone down there was still pressing the button. He leaned back, watching the candle's shadow flicker up the wall. I went down in a solo rig. Deep pressure certified, AI-assisted thrusters, multi-light array, the works. It should have been textbook. But about 700 meters down, something cut the comms. Not damaged, cut, like someone flipped a switch. Then the light started to change. The deeper I went, the more the water around me turned this greenish gray, like storm clouds had gotten inside the ocean. The instruments all said normal, but my eyes told me different. I saw the sub, or what was left of it, crumpled like a tin can. But that wasn't what stopped me. There was a figure, floating a few meters off the hull, no tank, no suit, arms stretched upward like it had drowned mid-reach. Skin pale, veined, eyes open, watching me. I thought it was a body at first, part of the original crew, but it moved, turned, faced me, and then it smiled. The other two sailors stiffened. Jonas didn't blink. I don't remember getting back to the surface. They said I was out cold when they pulled the rig in, helmet still sealed, oxygen untouched. But here's the thing. Something came back with me. The night after we surfaced, the salvage ship went quiet. All systems locked up, no power, no navigation, just this hum. Like the whole vessel was vibrating under your skin. That's when the dreams started. Everyone had them. Didn't matter if you were below deck or up top. The same dream, same voice, same face. He closed his eyes for a second, jaw tight. They pulled me from the mission early. I never dove again. Haven't slept more than 3 hours straight since. Because every time I dream, I see it again. That face in the dark, the way it moved, like it didn't belong in water or air or anywhere we can reach. And here's the worst part. He opened his eyes. They were wet now, but not from sadness, from fear. Every once in a while, when I pass by dark water, portside, dock, even a damn puddle, I see a shape, just under the surface, still waiting. And when I blink, it's gone. He leaned in, whispering now. We didn't bring it back. It let me return, and it's still watching. Miles rubbed his thumb along the edge of his mug. The flame trembled, and for a moment the shadows behind him looked like they leaned closer. This one's old, he said finally. It didn't happen to me, not directly. It happened to my father. And he only told it to me once, when he was dying. Morphine couldn't dull the look in his eyes when he said the name Hollow Rock Light. He let the name settle in the air before going on. It was a lighthouse, small, off the coast of Nova Scotia, officially decommissioned back in the 60s after a series of incidents. But the tower still stood, still does, far as I know. No keeper, no maintenance, just a decaying spire in the fog. My father was assigned to it for a season when he was young, 3 months rotation. Just him, a radio, and the sea. Said it was peaceful the first few weeks. Solitude, routine. Then the light started acting up. At first, it flickered at the wrong intervals. Then it stopped following the programmed sweep pattern entirely. Instead, it pulsed, short bursts like Morse. But the messages weren't code, not anything human. He said they felt shaped, like the light was thinking. Jonas shifted in his seat. Red stared at the floor. Then came the boats. No radio contact, no flags, just silhouettes in the mist. Old vessels, 1800s builds, hulls too damaged to float, sails too torn to catch wind, but still they moved, always toward the light. He watched one come straight through the shoals without slowing. Should have shattered on the rocks. But it didn't, just drifted, silent, toward shore. He saw the figures on board, still, upright. Faces turned up toward the lantern room. Miles's voice dropped lower, almost drowned by the soft hush of waves outside the hull. He locked the tower, refused to light the beam. Went dark for 4 nights straight. The sea screamed. That's how he described it. like the water itself was angry, foam hitting the rocks like fists. On the fifth night, the light came on by itself. No power, no fuel, no switch thrown, just light, blinding, white-hot, sweeping across the horizon, and the boats, they came faster. He stared into the candle flame like it was a miniature version of that terrible beacon. He doesn't remember what happened after that, just that he woke up on the floor, bleeding from the ears. The room stank of brine. His logbook was torn to pieces. And outside, on the shore below the tower, were footprints. Not boot prints, not bare feet. Webbed, three-toed, deep. Too deep for any man. He was pulled from the assignment the next morning. The official report said nervous breakdown. He never went near a lighthouse again. Couldn't even look at a foghorn without flinching. Miles looked at the others, then down at his own hands. Before he died, he made me promise something. That if I ever saw a light blinking in a place it shouldn't, at sea, on the cliffs, even in dreams, that I don't follow. No matter what, even if it looks like rescue. Because not every light guides you home. Red didn't drink this time. He sat still, hands clasped, as if holding something invisible between them. When he spoke, the room felt smaller. The ship outside groaned, and the candle bent in the sudden stillness. There's a stretch of ocean out past Tierra del Fuego. No maps show it. The GPS loops. The sky's always gray there, and the water's too still. No waves, just long, slow breaths. Like the sea's asleep, or pretending to be. They call it the Gray Hollow. It's a myth, supposedly, but I was there. He paused, eyes dark. I signed on with the Chilean crew. Cargo run, ice-class hull. Nothing fancy, but the captain was ex-Navy, knew how to read the water. We were supposed to cut east, ride clear currents up to Rio, but something went wrong. Instruments scrambled, compass spun. We drifted off course by a lot, and one morning we woke to find we weren't under sky anymore. He leaned forward. Its hue looked like sky. Clouds above, stars faint, even a moon. But it was wrong, slightly mirrored, too Asha perfect. The reflection on the water didn't shimmer, it matched. One of the deckhands threw a bolt overboard, and we all watched as it fell, up. No one moved. The only sound was the creak of the bulkhead and the soft whistle of wind, though none had been blowing a moment ago. Rain started a few hours later, soft at first, but not from the clouds. It came from below. Water rising out of the sea in little droplets, like steam made of ink. They didn't fall, they floated. Upward, into the false sky. And when they touched your skin, they didn't feel wet. They felt, hungry. The crew panicked. Engines roared. We tried to turn around, but the horizon bent, literally, tilted like a bowl. We weren't sailing anymore. We were circling the edge of something enormous. The stars above us began to move. Not slowly, they spiraled, like looking up from the drain of the world. Red's voice went quieter. The first man who jumped did it without a word, just climbed the railing and stepped off. No splash, no scream, just gone. Others followed. Not because they were scared, because they were calm, like someone had whispered a promise in their ears, like the sea had called them by name. Me and two others locked ourselves in the storage hold. No windows, no sound, just darkness. We waited. When we opened the hatch a day later, the sky was real again. The compass worked, the radio clicked, but there was no one left. He looked up at Jonas and Miles, face pale under the swaying lantern. We found the ship drifting a week later, empty, not even gulls, no bodies, just wet footprints on the ceiling of the bridge. He swallowed. I don't sail near the Horn anymore, and if I feel the water get too calm, or see the sky go too still, I turn around, no matter what the cargo says. Because I've seen what's below the sea, and it isn't water, it's sky, for something else. You ever find something at sea that doesn't make sense, but it feels true anyway? Like your bones know before your brain catches up? He took a breath. Last year, we were contracted to tag and tow the remains of an old freighter drifting near the Norwegian Trench. The Harwich Bay went down in the 70s, officially. But someone sent us coordinates, said it was intact, said it shouldn't be. We found it. No distress beacon, no ID markings, but it matched the Harwich's specs. Rusted to hell, listing badly, covered in barnacles the size of skulls, and not a single bird in sight. We should have walked, but it was money, good money. They wanted us to document the interior, confirm it was the real wreck, then leave. Simple. He finally looked up. His eyes were glassy, jaw tight. The moment we stepped aboard, we knew something was wrong. The air pulsed, like there was a heartbeat under the deck plates. Not mechanical, not natural, something else. The inside was wrong. Everything tilted slightly forward, like the ship was leaning toward something just out of view. Rooms where rooms shouldn't be. Hallways that looped. Lights that worked even though we brought no power source. And it was warm. He let the words hang. We reached the lower hold, and we heard breathing, not ours, not wind, real, wet breathing, like lungs made of kelp and bile. Slow. Patient. There was something fused into the hull, not metal, not coral, something unalive. Veined, pulsing tissue woven through the walls, reacting to light, shivering when we got too close. One of our team, Martin, touched it. Just a fingertip. He screamed, collapsed. Eyes rolled back. Started repeating one phrase over and over. Jonas closed his eyes and whispered, "We're in its mouth." We dragged him back to the launch. He was burning up, skin cracked like old wood. We left everything. Footage, gear, notes, all of it. Didn't even shut the bay door. When we got back, we tried to report it. No one listened, no records. The company we worked for doesn't exist anymore. Emails bounced, offices empty, wiped like salt on glass. Martin died 2 days later, but not from infection. His lungs collapsed. He paused, then added, barely audible, like they'd been bitten from the inside. I dream of that ship sometimes. Except it's not adrift anymore, it's swimming, deep below us, belly dragging along the trench, looking for its next breath. And sometimes I think it remembers me. No one spoke after Jonas finished. The candle had burned low, barely a flicker now. The shadows in the cabin were thicker than they should have been, and outside, the water had gone still. No wind, no waves, just silence. Absolute and wrong. Then the ship groaned. Not from wood or engine, but like something huge had shifted beneath them. Something listening. Miles stood first, then Red, then Jonas. They didn't speak, just walked slowly, silently to the porthole. Outside, in the black water, a light blinked once, then twice. Then pulsed in a pattern no man could recognize, but every one of them understood. Below the ship, the sea began to part, not a wave, not a trench, a mouth. And the ocean remembered their names.